Certainly. So this is a temporary exhibition that's been installed in the public spaces here at the National Army Museum that looks at the history of the British Indian Army, First World War, and it was opened about 6 weeks ago, and it will run through to November of this year. Well, the fact is that the history of the British Indian Army is very key to the National Army Museum. One of the first collections that were used to set up this museum back in the 1960s was its collection of British Indian soldiers, and therefore we wanted to look at that specifically in this temporary exhibition, and particularly at the history of the First World War. It was particularly handy for us to be able to do this by working in conjunction with our colleagues in Delhi at the United Services Institution, and their contribution, which was huge into this, has allowed us to be able to put this on quite quickly as well. So this is an exhibition that we've been able to pull together very rapidly and get out here. The things about the National Army Museum is we look at our army, and when we say our army, there are so many different contributing countries that put soldiers into the British Army throughout its long history. But one of the most important ones is the contribution of Indian soldiers. And as I say, that was a key collections policy back when the National Army Museum's collection was initially set up. So this is something that we continually talk about, is the contribution of British Indian soldiers. For instance, we ran projects during the First World War commemorative period specifically to look at that, because it is, certainly in the UK, it is a subject that tends to be overlooked. When we look at the First World War, we tend to think about English or British soldiers in the Western Front, and we ignore a lot of the other theatres and a lot of the other contributors. And of course, the contribution of the British Indian Army in 1914 is enormous, and we would not be able to prosecute the war the way that we do without their contribution. So looking at that contribution and putting it into these kinds of exhibitions is something that we do very regularly.